Okay, y'all, my bad. I had some family issues to take care of real quick. But we about to finish this chapter 2 of Iceberg Slim. And then I'm going to bed. I'm tired. Shit. I think I'm going to go sleep in the living room, though. Probably. I get lonely at night when my wife's at work. Anyway. Alright, let's go. Iceberg Slim, chapter 2. Pimp. The rest of it. Well, part 1, part 2 of chapter 2.
And hoisted his starved shoulders inside the jacket of his cheap vine and said, "Oh, now let's not be fatalistic. You are a first offender, and I am positive it will mitigate the charge. Rest assured, I will press the court for leniency. Now tell me the whole truth about your trouble." Anger, everything drained out of me. I was lost, stricken. The phony would lead me to the slaughter. I knew I was already tried and convicted and sentenced to the joint. The only loose end was for how long.
A lot of people I know.
Without hearing it myself, I ran down the details to him and stumbled blindly back to my cell. On my trial day in the courtroom, the shaky bastard was so nervous before the bench when he pleaded me guilty that the same cheap vine that he had worn at our first meeting was soaked by his sweat. He was so shook up by the stern face and voice of the white, hawk-faced judge that he forgot to ask for leniency. That awful fear the white folks put into him down south was still painfully alive in him. He just stood there, paralyzed, waiting for the judge to sentence me. So, I looked up into the frosty blue eyes and said, "Your Honor, I am sorry for what I did. I have never been in trouble before. If Your Honor will just give me a break this time, I swear before the Lord, I won't ever come back down here. Please, Your Honor, don't send me to the pen." The frost deepened in his eyes as he looked down at me and intoned, "You are a vicious young man. Your crime against that innocent young girl, against the laws of this state, is inexcusable. The very nature of your crime precludes the possibility of probation. For your own good and for that of society's, I sentence you to the state reformatory to a term for not less than 1 year and for not more than 18 months. I hope it teaches you a lesson." I shrugged off the wet hand of the lip from my shoulder, avoided the tear-reddened eyes of Mama sobbing quietly in the rear of the courtroom, and stuck my hands out to the bailiff for the icy-cold handcuffs. June's old man was a big wheel with lots of muscle in the courts. He had gone behind the scenes and pulled strings and put the cinch on the joint for me. My sentence was for carnal knowledge and abuse, reduced from pandering, because you can't pander for anything except a whore, and June's old man wasn't about to go for that. Yes, I was sure working at that first patch of gray in my mother's hair. Steve would have been proud of me, don't you think? My sentence to the Wisconsin Green Bay Reformatory almost cracked Mama up. There were several repeaters from the reformatory on my tier at county jail who tried to bug the first offenders with terrible stories about the hard time up at the reformatory while we were waiting for the van to take us upstate to the reformatory. I was too dumb to feel anything. A fool I was to think the dummy was a fairy tale. In the 2 weeks that I waited, Mama wrote me a letter every day and visited twice. Mama's guilt and heartbreak were weighing heavily on her. Back in Rockford, she had been a dutiful churchgoer, leading a Christian life until Steve came on the scene. But now, when I read her long rambling letters crammed with threats of fire and brimstone for me, if I didn't get Jesus in my heart and respect the Holy Ghost and the fire, I realized that poor Mama was becoming a religious fanatic to save her sanity. The pressures of Henry's death, and now my plight, must have been awful. The van came to get us on a stormy, thunderous morning. As we stepped into the van, handcuffed together, I saw Mama standing in the icy, driving rain waving goodbye. I could feel a hot, throbbing lump at the base of my throat to see her standing there looking so sad and lonesome, cowering beneath the battering rain. I could feel the tears aching to flow, but I couldn't cry. Mama never told me how she found out the time the van would come. I still wonder how she found out and what her thoughts were out there in the storm as she watched me start my journey. The state called it reformatory.
Right, the pause by the shift. That's what
it was a prison for real.
That shit mean. I hope it's a change.
My belly fluttered when the van pulled into the prison road leading to the joint. The van had been vibrating with horse
ripping
among the 20-odd prisoners. Only one of them had sat tensely and silently during the entire trip, the fat fellow next to me. But when those high, slate gray walls loomed grimly before us, it was as if a giant fist had slugged the breath from us all. Even the repeaters who had served time behind those walls were silent, tight-faced. I started to believe those stories they had told back in county jail. The van went through 3 gates manned by rock-faced bucks, carrying scoped, high-powered rifles. 3 casket gray cell houses stood like mute mourners beneath the bleak, sunless sky. For the first time in my life, I felt raw, grinding fear. The fat Negro sitting next to me was a former schoolmate of mine in high school. He had been a dedicated member of the Holiness Church then. I had never gotten friendly with him because his only interest at the time seemed to be his church and Bible. Right. He didn't smoke, swear, chase broads, or gamble. He had been a rock-ribbed square.
I just said he was square.
Only he was still square because now his eyes were closed, and I could hear bits of prayer as he whispered softly. Oscar's prayer was abruptly cut off by the screech of the van's brakes as it stopped in front of the prison's check-in station and bathhouse. We clambered out and stood in line to have our handcuffs removed. 2 screws started at each end of the line, unlocking the cuffs. As they moved toward the middle of the line, they stifled the thin whispers of the men. They said to each man, "Button it up. Silence. No talking." Oscar was shaking and trembling in front of me as we filed into a brightly lit, high-ceilinged room. A rough pine counter stretched for 20 yards down a green and gray flagstone floor that looked clean enough to eat from. This was part of the shiny, clean skin of the apple. The inside was rotting and foul. Cons with starch-white faces stood behind the long counter, guessing our sizes as we passed them and passing out faded pieces of our uniform, from caps to brogans. We passed with our bundles into a large room. A tall, silent screw, dazzling with brass buttons and gold braid on his navy blue uniform, slashed his lead-loaded cane through the air like a vocal sword, directing us to put our bundles on a long bench and to undress for short-arm inspection, and a brief exam by the prison croaker seated at a battered steel desk in the back of the room. Finally, we all had been checked by the croaker and showered. The gold-spangled screw raised his talkative cane. It told us to go out the door and turn left, then straight ahead. 2 screws marched alongside as we made it toward a squat sandstone building 200 yards away. Was that talking cane the dummies? I heard it before I saw it. A loud scraping, thunder-laced with a hollow roar. Never before had I heard anything like it. Then, mysteriously, in the dimness, countless young grim faces seemed to be bobbing in a sea of gray. 100 feet ahead, I saw the mystery. Hundreds of gray-clad cons were lock-stepping from the mess halls into the 3-cell houses. They were an eerie sight in the twilight, marching mutely in cadence, like tragic robot soldiers. The roaring thunder was the scrape and thump of their heavy prison brogans. We reached the squat building. We were to stay in its quarantine cells for the next 10 days. All fish, new cons, were housed here to be given a thorough medical checkout and classification before being assigned to work details out in population. I our cell doors. It was barley soup with a hunk of brown bread. It would have made great shrapnel in a grenade. I was new in learning, so instead of just gulping it down, I took a long, close look at the odd little things black dotted at one end. I puked until my belly cramped. The barley in the soup was lousy with worms. The lights went out at 9. Every hour or so, a screw came by the row of cells. He would poke the bright eye of his flashlight into a cell, and then squint his eyes as he looked into each cell. I wondered if it were a capital crime in this joint to get caught having an affair with Lady Five Fingers. I flapped my ears when I heard one of the white repeaters running down the joint in a whisper to a fish. Oscar was listening too, because he had stopped praying in his cell next to mine. The white fish was saying, "Look, Rocky, what the hell gives with that hack in the bathhouse? Why don't the jack-off never rap? What's with that cane bit?" The repeater said, "The son of a bitch is stir-crazy. His voice box screwed up on him a dime ago. He's been the brass nuts here for a double dime, and guess how the bastard lost his rapper?" The screw in his light was making the rounds again, so the repeater got on the dummy. When the screw had passed, he continued. The creep was called Foghorn by the cons before his trouble made him a dummy. They say the bastard's bellows could be heard from one side of the joint to the other. He's the meanest captain of screws this joint ever had. In the last double dime, he has croaked 2 white cons and 4 spades with his cane. He hates niggers. Oscar was praying like mad now. He had heard what the repeater said about those 4 Negroes. The fish wanted a loose end tied for him. He said, "Yeah, Rocky, just to glim him and you know he's rough. But what in the hell cut his box off?" The repeater said, "Oh, the vine has it. He treated his wife and Crumb Crusher worse than he did the cons. She got her fill of his screwing and drilled herself and the kid through the head. The little broad was only 2 years old. The note his broad left said, 'I can't stand your hollering any longer. Goodbye.' A head shrinker here at the time said, when the broad croaked herself, it shut off Brass Nuts' box." I lay there thinking about what the con had said. I thought about Oscar and wondered if he could pull his bid, or if he would go back to his parents in a pine box, or worse, to the crazy farm. Oscar had been sentenced to a year by the same judge that had socked it into me. Oscar, poor chump, had started going with a crippled Irish girl of 17. In the dark balcony of a downtown theater, they were seen smooching by the son of a close friend of the girl's family. He reported post-haste to his parents, who wired up the girl's parents. They were Irish, with temper and prejudice. They third-degreed the girl, and she confessed that old black Oscar had indeed trespassed the Forbidden Valley. The charge of statutory rape naturally stood up, and here was old Oscar, next door to me. I slapped the itching sting on my thigh. I pulled the sheet back. Lord have mercy, how I hated them. It was a bed bug I had smashed, but he was only a scout. When that flashlight jarred me awake an hour later, a division of them was parading the walls. I lay wide-eyed until morning. The inside of that shiny apple was really something else. After all our tests, we fish were taken out of the quarantine tank on the 10th day to the warden's office. My turn came to go in. I got up from the long bench in the hall outside his office and walked in. My knees were having a boxing match as I stood before him. He was a silver-maned, profane, huge white bull with 2 tiny chunks of black fire rammed deep into his eye sockets. He said, "Well, Sambo, you sure got your black nigger ass in a sling, didn't you?
See, I'm glad.
Well, understand me. We didn't send for you, but you came. We are here to punish you,
You see
smart
that?
aleck
Don't come for me. I
bastards.
said for
So if you
everything
fuck
is
around,
fucking
two things
connected,
can
man.
happen to you. Both of them horrible. We got a hole here that we bury tough punks in. It's a stripped cell without light, 20 feet below ground. Down there, 2 slices of bread and a pint of water twice a day. You can go out that north gate in a box for your second choice. So take this rule book and study it. Now get your rusty black ass out of my face. The only thing I said before I eased out of there was, "Yes, sir, boss man."
See,
And
that's
I was
fucked up.
grinning like a Mississippi rape suspect turned loose by the mob.
He know better. Okay.
It was a wise thing I had uncled on him. One of those arrogant repeaters went to the hole for having a sassy look in his eyes. The charge was visual insubordination. Oscar and I were assigned to work and live in cell block B. It was all black. Of the 3, it was the only one without toilets. We had buckets in cells that we took out each morning and dumped into running water in a trough behind the cell block. The only stench in my life I have ever smelled that was worse than that cell block on a warm night was a sick hype. It was rough, all right, and a terrible battle of wits. The battle mainly centered around staying out of sight and trouble with a dummy. He walked on the balls of his feet and could read a con's mind. It was terrifying to have maybe a slice of contraband bread in your bosom, and then from nowhere have the dummy pop up. He didn't pass out an instruction leaflet running down the lingo of that cane. If you misunderstood what it said, the dummy would crack the leaded shaft of it against your skull. After I had put in 6 months on my bit, a young Negro con came in on transfer from the big joint and brought me a wire from party. He sent word that we were still tight, and I was his horse if I never won a race. It felt good to know he had forgiven me for turning chicken back there in the alley with the balloon. The dummy hated everybody. He felt something much more frightful for Oscar.
Look, I
don't know whether it was that the dummy had a hate for God too, and he knew how religious Oscar was, and had focused all his hate on a living target. Oscar and I shared a double bunk cell. I had the bottom bunk. It was a chilling sight at night when the dummy should have been at home to look up from a book and see him out there on the tier, motionless, staring up at Oscar and his bunk reading the Bible. When I was sure that the cold, luminous green eyes had slipped away for the night, I would crack, "Oscar, my man, I like you. Will you take some good advice from a friend?" I am telling you, pal, it is driving the dummy off his rocker to see you reading that Bible. Pal, why in the hell don't you stop reading it for your own good?
Why you say that? Wait, that's where I would have gone. Come on, bro.
He hadn't even noticed the dummy's visit. He would say, "I know you are my friend, and I appreciate your advice, but I can't take it. Don't worry about me. Jesus will protect me."
Okay.
Mama was writing at least once a week. Every month she visited me. On her last visit, without worrying her too much, I suggested it would be a good idea to put in a long-distance call to the warden once a week, just so he would know somebody out there loved me and wanted me to stay healthy. She was looking fine and had saved her money. She had opened a beauty shop. She told me when I came up for parole, she was sure a friend of hers would give me a job. At night, after her visits, I would lie sleepless all night, mentally recapping our sad lives. I could still remember, too, every mole and crease in Henry's face. One night after one of her visits, the radio loudspeaker on the cell house wall blared out, "Springtime in the Rockies." I tried to keep my crying secret from Oscar, but he heard me. He marked off a chapter in the Bible for me to read, but with the dummy around, I wasn't about to do something stupid like that. The dummy put one over on Jesus and busted Oscar. We had almost finished mopping the flag when the cell house runner brought me 2 wieners from the kitchen. A pal had sent them. I gave Oscar one. He stuck it inside his shirt. I stood my mop against the wall and ducked into an empty cell and wolfed mine down.
That's funny. I can visualize him doing that shit.
And we're at the sound at the Last
He
Supper.
was. He probably liked it
I
that
saw the
winter.
giant shadow glue itself against the wall next to the closet door. I looked through the trap door in the corner of my eye. The universe reeled. It was the dummy. He saw the piece of wiener in Oscar's hand. The dummy's green eyes were oscillating. That deadly cane razor through the air and cut a slice of hair and bloody flesh from the side of Oscar's head. The scarlet glob was hanging by a slimy thread of flesh, dangling like an awful earring near the tip of his earlobe. Oscar's eyes walled toward the back of his head as he moaned and slipped to the flag. From the gray-whitish core of the wound, spouts of blood pulsed out. The dummy just stood there, looking down at the carnage. His green eyes were twinkling in excitement. I had seen him every day for 8 months. I had never seen him smile. He was smiling now, like he was watching 2 cute kittens frolicking. I stooped to help Oscar. I felt feathery puffs of air against my cheek. The cane was screaming. The dummy was furiously waggling it beside my head. It was screaming, "Get out." I lay in my cell wondering if the dummy had second thoughts and would try for 2. I heard the voices of the hospital orderlies on the flag taking Oscar away. I remember the murderous force of the blow the dummy had struck. I remembered that pleased look on his face. I knew from Con grapevine that he was from Alabama. I knew now it hadn't been Oscar's Bible that had put the dummy's balls in the fire. The dummy knew about that crippled Irish girl. Oscar went from the hospital into the hole for 15 days. The charges? Possession of contraband food and physical aggression against an officer. I was there, and the only aggression on Oscar's part was the natural resistance of his flesh and bone to that steel cane. The parole board met in the joint every month to consider applications. Every con, when he had served to within several months of his minimum, started dreaming of the streets and that upcoming parole consideration. Oscar was in the hole, and I missed his company. He was a square, but a nice one, with lots of wry wit. Several cons slightly older than I came in on transfer from the big joint. They claimed to be Mac men. In bad weather, when there was no yard recreation, I would join them at a table on the flag. I didn't talk much. I usually listened. I was fascinated by the yarns they spun about their pimping ability. They had a lot of bullshit, and I was stealing as much as I could from them to use when I got out.
Right.
I would go back to my cell excited.
Yes.
I would pretend I had a whore before me. I would stand there in the cell and pimp up a storm. I didn't know that the crap I was rehearsing wouldn't get a quarter in the street. Oscar came out of the hole and was put into an isolation cell on the top tier of the cell house. I didn't see him come in, so I wasn't prepared when I got a chance to go up there. When I got to the cell with his number in the slot, a skinny joker was peeing in his bucket with his back to me. He was in a laughing fit. I checked the number in the slot again. It was Oscar's number, all right. I pulled the key to the supply closet across the bars of the cell door. The skeleton jumped and spun around facing me. His eyes were wild and vacant. It was Oscar. Only that livid, bald scar on the side of his head made me sure. He didn't seem to remember me, so I said, "How are you, pal?" I knew they couldn't stop a stepper. He just stood there, his dingus flopping from his open fly. I said, "Jack, you are going to give your bright future the flu if you don't get it out of the draft."
Right, cover that shit up. Don't nobody look at your dick, nigga.
And then from the very bottom of his throat, I can hear kind of eerie, high-pitched humming, or keening, like maybe the mating call of a werewolf. I was beginning to worry about him. I was standing there trying to figure something to say to get through to him. He hadn't been out of the hole for more than 2 hours. Maybe some loose circuit would jar back to contact. I knew he had been destroyed when he gave me a sly look and went to the back of his cell. He picked up his bucket and thrust his hand into it. He brought out a fistful of crap.
Ugh.
He scraped the crap from his right palm into the rigid upturned left palm. Using his left palm as a kind of palette, he dipped into the crap with his right index finger and started to finger paint on the cell wall. I just stood there in shock. Finally, he stopped, snapped to attention, saluted me, and stuck his chest out proudly and pointed a crappy finger at his art on the wall. There was an idiot's look of triumph on his face, like he had finished the Sistine Chapel
Maybe
ceiling.
he was trying to tell you something.
I
Because
gave
y'all
up
get
on
on
him.
paper and
I
pencils
went
sometimes.
downstairs and told the cell house screw. The next day, they shipped Oscar to the funny farm, where perhaps he is today, 30 years later.
Or maybe that was
My
better.
time went fast after the 8th month. I had gone
Damn, did
before
you
the parole
snitch,
board,
nigga?
and I was waiting for my pink slip. A white one meant denial and a new date for consideration. I saw the mail clerk when he shoved it through the bars of my cell. I leaped up and grabbed a small brown envelope. My hand shook so badly it took seconds to rip it open. It was pink. I banged my fists against the steel of my cell wall. I was so happy I couldn't feel pain.
Well, when
They
they gave my
dressed me
brother
out
the
in a
white
cheap
one, he
Glen Plaid
said he
suit.
jacked off on that
I
thing
would
and
have been
sent it
thrilled
back
to
on
have
out that
left that
window.
den of pressure
I would have
and
did the
tar
same
and
thing.
feathers. On the way out, I had to face the bull. When I walked into his office, he said, "Well, Snowball, you must have had your rabbit's foot. So long. See you in a couple of weeks." I wasn't out yet, so I gave him the same uncle smile going out that I gave him coming in. When I walked out of the joint, the fresh air was like a blast of oxygen. It made me woozy. I turned and looked back at the joint. The dummy was standing at the chapel window staring at me. But for once, that steel cane wasn't talking to me. Chapter 3. Salt.
Okay, y'all, we finally got through it. Thank God. Okay. Alright, so was he, see, last time, the last chapter, not last video, but the last chapter, chapter 1, I'm still trying to figure out if he fucked his mama. I'm gonna have to go watch my own damn video. Because I think his mama was fucking him. I don't know. And then, this chapter, chapter 2, I think he snitched on the crazy man. But I don't know if the man was crazy. He never said what was that shit he smeared on the fucking, what was he writing on the wall. But, for anybody that's new, this book, I wanted to, do a watch and listen because I'm not about to read shit. I'm not about to read that shit. I read enough books here. I got enough shit to do, so I let them read it in their own perspective. But I wanted to read it because you have to think of the mind of a pimp. We're getting pimped as black people. Indians, we're not allowed to be who we are, so, that's why I wanted to read this. So you guys can understand the mind of a pimp, because we're being pimped right now. So if you take this whole long ass book into perspective, you'll understand what we're going through right now. Why do you think you have a boss? A boss, your manager, like a manager is a pimp, right? Recruiters, all that, Anyway, I'm tired now. I want to bed. I don't think I could go to bed though, because I still have to do 4 hours on this sex phone line. So I'm going to have to take me about an hour nap and then go back. I hope I can finish this tomorrow or do the 3rd chapter with you guys tomorrow. I don't know. Depends on how much shit I gotta do. But I will let you guys know. But all I want to know is y'all feeling me though? You know what I'm saying? Huh? You better be feeling me though on this. If you don't understand the past, you'll never fucking get through this future. Alright, I'm going to bed. Bye.